Hey everyone, we got a really cool project. We're gonna show you how to coat your own American flag using a hollow core door and our amazing products. All right guys, I'm getting ready to prime. Obviously this is gonna be the flag, super cool flag at that. I'm gonna be using our WB primer. The reason I'm using that is because it's an amazing primer and bonds to almost any smooth surface. Art pieces like this, you guys can use paint and primer. Doesn't really matter, but if you want something to really bond to a smooth surface, like a board or whatever you guys are coating, get our WB primer. If you're not really concerned about it and you're just coating some art pieces, you don't have to use a primer, but you can go to our store, buy single items, you can get our primer, epoxy, whatever you need for your project. So that's why we're using our primer. We love it. Obviously we have it available for us, so we use it all the time. But again, guys, for our project, stuff like this that isn't gonna get a lot of wear and tear, you can really use anything. You just wanna make sure if you're using like a paint or something that it's really dry. This is obviously made for our resin, so it bonds extremely well. So just pouring some out, and I'll just work in sections. All right guys, I'm getting ready to do a cool technique using black and gold metallic spray paint. Super simple. I'm actually coating a solid core door here so they're lightweight, and I'm gonna do our flag decal on here, which you guys can purchase to make your own flag. Super easy process. So we've already primed the board. We did black primer, taped off the edges. That way I'm not spilling resin, wasting it. And then about a half an hour, maybe 25, half an hour, 40 minutes, I'll pull the tape once the resin sets up a little, and it'll slowly flow over the edge, and we're not gonna waste a bunch on the floor. So really cool technique to tape your edges off until that resin sets up a little, that way you're not wasting it. I already got my resin already mixed up. Obviously you don't wanna leave it in a mass like this, but we do this all the time, so I kinda know how much time I have when we do it like this. So like every video, we're gonna pour down the middle, and this is basically gonna cover the whole board. This is gonna be our base coat. And then we're gonna do our metallic spray paint in gold into this black. So when I'm pouring out my beads in the middle, I like to get them the same width when they start to level out. See how these are looking about the same width everywhere? That way when I cross roll this with the squeegee, spread it out, it's gonna be a nice even coat everywhere. Like if I had a really skinny bead here and then it got big on that end, I'd have way more product over there. So now these are relatively even. Makes it really simple to get the right thickness everywhere on your board. So I'm just gonna be using a squeegee. You guys can use foam rollers. When you're doing base coats and not blending, I recommend using a squeegee, foam roller, paintbrush. You can even spread it out with your hands. That way you're not getting any loose fibers off rollers. It's kind of the best way to do it. If you guys are gonna be blending colors with your roller, you're gonna wanna use 3/8 nap roller, de-shed it. Obviously you don't want those roller hairs getting in your product. So what I'm doing is just going back and forth. So now I got a nice even coat all through the middle. And now I can just start pushing it to my tape. Now, if I didn't have tape on here, this stuff would be dripping everywhere. I would basically just be throwing resin on the floor. Everything's got a nice thick coat. I don't even know how long that took, but it felt like 5 seconds. So now I'm basically ready for my spray paint. I put a rag over it and then I spray the spray paint in there until I get a lot of the spray paint fluid, which I've already done, and you can see it right here. So that's basically liquid spray paint, because I'm gonna get different effects if I use a liquid versus spraying it out. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour smaller amounts, because if I try to pour this out, I'm gonna wind up pouring too much out in one spot. So I'm gonna pour a little into here. That way I can have more control over it. And one thing I wanna tell you, when you're doing the metallic spray paints from Rust-Oleum, these metallics, they dry extremely fast. So if I was to pour out all my gold colors and then try to blend it, they're gonna have a crusty shell because it's already drying. And so it's gonna make your top look kind of chunky, which is a cool look if that's what you're going for. But I'm not, so I'm gonna do one bead and then I'm gonna blend it, another bead, blend it. That way this doesn't set up and start to get a crust on it. And again, the last board I did, the flag, I went different directions. I'm gonna go the same directions that our flag stripes are gonna go. So it'll be really cool. So again, I'll just start pouring out the gold, just like that. And you can see how easy it is to pour too much out. And then all I'm gonna do is just run this through the same direction as like the stripes are gonna go. And again, you wanna hit this sooner the better. That way it doesn't start getting all crusty on you. It'll start to set up really quick. But this is such a cool technique and it's gonna give us such cool effects. All right guys, so last thing, I'm gonna hit it with clear isopropyl, bigger drips, and you'll kind of see what it does. Even though we're doing a flag on this would be a beautiful countertop, desktop, simple technique. And again, I just went back and forth, blended it straight. And if I wanted more gold, I just want those specks of gold to pop out. And we'll probably do our stars up in that corner, our stripes this way, and I think we're gonna do a light tan ghosted flag on this. It'll look really cool. And we'll be using our stencil sticker that you guys can purchase and do your own flags with.
We're gonna put the decal on the wood now. Now these decals, we actually provide these decals if you'd like, and they fit on a 36 by 80 wide board. Now again, we design them like that because a lot of our followers and a lot of people, including ourselves, we use the hollow core doors, and that's what size they are. So it makes it easy for the decal to just sit within that width. Now the flag is actually a little bit smaller than that. It has a nice border around it. But again, we make them to fit 36 by 80 inches perfect. So the first thing you're gonna do is lay it out on your board, and you're just gonna even up the edges a little bit. Once the edges are evened up, you're gonna go to the middle or a little bit to the left or right, and you're gonna be careful. You're gonna put some tape and you're gonna run it down the side, stick it to the side, all the way underneath the art. And what we're doing is we're just tacking it in place so that it doesn't move. So now I can't move it. Then what we're going to do is we're actually going to flip this side up, and we're going to peel the back and then cut it. So I'll show you what that looks like. We're gonna peel this side up and just lay it back like this. And we're gonna cut as straight a line as we can right by this flag. Then we're gonna remove that. We'll show you the process. Okay, so we got Alex here helping, and I wanna reiterate something, that when you cut this line, try to get it as straight as possible. You don't want it real jagged and wavy, and that'll make more sense here in a minute. So one thing we're gonna do is, I have Alex down on this side of the board, and I'm not gonna let it hit the board yet. I'm gonna be very careful. I'm just gonna hand him the top of the flag. And this is kind of what you wanna see. You wanna see it where it's not taped down, it's taped down here, and you wanna curve like this. You don't wanna pull it real tight, like Alex, pull it tight for a second. You don't want that, because you'll be fighting him the whole time. You want it to be loose where you're working with it. And then he's gonna slowly drop the flag as I'm going across it. So I'm gonna grab one of my debit cards here. Don't look at the number, it's wrong. And as he's dropping it, I'm just gonna go across, and I'm just gonna slowly put this down as he's, okay, wait, Alex. And see, watch, I'm communicating with him. Okay, go down a little bit further. And what I'm doing is I'm just going across, I'm trying to maintain my straight line. Dropped a little bit more. Okay, hold on. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for any kind of like creasing and things like that. You want to try to keep it loose until it's actually being put down. Now, because we're going to be doing a lot of spray paint on this, it's a very forgiving process. It's not like you're putting it on a wall and it has to stay like that forever. We can actually mess with it a little bit when it's down, but you want it as nice as possible. All right, now we have half the flag down. We'll push it down better in a minute. Now we can remove our tape. And we're gonna flip this side up. And the reason why you want your line cut as straight as possible is, you notice when I flipped that over, this flipped right out. None of it was locked in. If you have jagged cuts, you'll flip it over and some of those pieces will be locked in by places that are stuck down. So it's really important that you have a pretty straight cut. And now, as you can imagine, we're gonna do the same process as we did on that side. So I'll give this to Alex. I'll pull that card out again, and we'll just continue to do the same thing as he's dropping it. Now I'm gonna grab a roller, and you can do this with your credit card if you want, with your debit card, and you can just begin to work it a little bit. Now, the part of the decal that will remain down is basically all the white that you can see through it. We're going to spray paint this. So I'm not concerned about trying to push down all this clear. What I'm really trying to do is push down all the white. So I want to specifically go around the stars and on these edges, and I'm basically just gonna try to push this down a little bit. You can even do it with your fingers. You're mainly concerned about these edges. If you have a roller, you can even roll over them. But that's the goal. It's just a giant sticker. We're trying to get this sticker stuck down to our board. Just gonna follow all the edges. And we still have an ability, when we pull this is called transfer paper. When we pull this transfer paper, there will still be an ability to do some of this. Or if we need to push some of it down again, we can do that. So now that we have a lot of this pushed down, you can actually pull the transfer paper. Another reason why you don't want to push down too hard is if you happen to use any spray paints on the top of your design. If you rub down the clear part too far, sometimes you can pull a lot of the spray paint off. Now it's not gonna make too much of a problem for you, but you just want to be conscious of that. What I'm looking for when I'm pulling this is, because I am looking for things, I want to make sure, especially on the edges where it's thinner, that it's not ripping the edges up and kind of twisting it. Again, it's gonna be pretty forgiving, and I'll show you how to fix some things if you do have an issue. Really simple. Now what we're gonna do is we only want to put the flag on the top of this board. And because our decal, we want to make it easy to put on the board, we didn't have it overlap the edges very far because we wanted it as an easy guide for you. But what we do is we actually tape off the edges so we don't get spray paint on them. So I'm just gonna take some blue painter's tape on the edge like that, and I'm just gonna fold it all the way down the side, so that I'm not getting any spray paint on the side. It's as simple as that. I'm gonna put this right on the edge. Same thing. If you're using a thicker board or something a lot thicker that has a thick edge, you may need 2 pieces of tape. I'm only putting it on about 1/4 of an inch, just enough to really hide that side. You want to make sure on your corners that there's no corner exposed either. Sometimes this tape leaves an edge exposed, so you just want to go around and make sure all of the edges are tucked in nicely, like this. See where I pulled the tape? There's that little, it seems insignificant, but you don't want to have to fill anything later. So now all you're gonna do before you spray paint is you're just gonna look around to make sure right on the edges of your decal. I'm not concerned about little bubbles inside the decal like this. There's no need for me to try to work all these bubbles out, because they're not ever going to create a problem. The only thing you really want to be aware of is any type of bubble that's right on the edge of the decal going into the clear epoxy, right? So let me see if we can see any. There's a lot of tiny bubbles kind of in this area, so I'm just gonna go and push down right around these stars. if I see any problem areas. It all looks pretty good. And if you're really nervous about it, just give one last roll with your roller. You just want to make sure that when you spray the spray paint, that it doesn't go underneath the decal. And that's it. This is ready to spray, so we're gonna spray it really quick, and then we'll pull this right off. It's that fast. Now we're gonna spray our spray paint to make our flag. Now you can just ghost on the spray paint like we're gonna do here, or you can actually make it a solid color. You can spray the stars and then put a piece of cardboard over them and tape it on this edge, and then spray the stripes a different color. You can do the stripes every other color. I mean, this is kind of a decorative interpretation of our amazing flag, so that's why we really enjoy doing these. So we're gonna attempt to ghost this one. It's important when you're ghosting that you try not to go back and forth. You try to be very sporadic, very random. So I'm trying to go kind of in a circular motion quickly, and I'm moving in very large areas. So I'm not focusing on one stripe or the other, because chances are you're gonna have some line that goes across it. So I'm trying to keep it high. I'm trying to just dust the board is really what needs to happen. You just want the paint to just dust the board a little bit. If you need more in areas, make sure you keep the paint can high, so you can just get a little bit more. You get too close, you're gonna completely screw up the ghost effect. Okay, it's been a little bit here, a few minutes. The paint has set up. Now we're just gonna pull this tape off the edges and then remove the decal. That simple.
If you guys like this project and want to try a flag of your own, then check out the link in the description below to order your flag stencil today. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification button so you don't miss out on any future projects.